Joe Scott. Anyone have any comments to make?
I have a question. Joe, some of the questions that that weren't fully answered, I was wondering if some of that was because you didn't feel some of those questions should be directed to you in this role, and that maybe we could talk to some of the staff about doing a little more digging on some of those and getting us some of the answers. And some of those were seemingly a bit out of your legal purview. They were more technical and project questions.
I would agree with you. I mean, as I listened to some of the comments here and the question, I went back and looked at some of these. I mean, I addressed the legal issues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, question 4, will the proposed project create a school? I think that's part of that's the project applicant or making representation or an observation. I guess it's some of it's speculation. We don't know what's going to happen, right? But questions as with respect to the benefits, what you can do, what you can't do, whether there is a financing option under DASNY, what happens with the mortgage reporting tax. I mean, those are all issues clearly within my purview, and I felt very comfortable, answering.
In that case, can we ask staff to look at some of those questions? We've got some real good public feedback and information and SOFED resources as well to more fully answer those. Is that something you could
What we're going to do is we're going to add these comments to the transcripts which were sent to you from the public hearings, which at that point in time I promised a side-by-side sort of answer to points and clarification of issues in that, and we'll add this to that. That's one of the reasons why this was not obviously ready for a vote. I mean, there's still additional work that has to take place as far as getting the board the right information.
Okay. In addition to that side-by-side, though, Mike, can you guys look at some of these good specifics?
Can I just ask you, which ones are you specifically asking them to address?
Well, we could go through those now in case, some of us have different, aspects of some of these questions, if we want to do that right now.
Well, the memo's on here for discussion, so
Okay.
we start right on number 1.
All right.
Well, I do have a question on number 1, because it doesn't, you conclude by saying that you would need to conduct tax due diligence. I mean, I take it from this answer that you, at this point in time, you can't state 100% that these meet the rules. That the but-for test has been met, that more due diligence is required.
No, I think the but-for test is something that people throw out fairly regularly in the area of IDA benefits. But if you look at the statute, there is no but-for test. And I think, so what I tried to say in here is that IDAs typically won't enter into a project if there isn't some benefit being extended to the applicant, because they don't want to be extending benefits unless the applicant needs the benefits. But with respect to the tax due diligence, that's a slightly different, that's a different issue, because as part of our normal review of a project, we have to look at whether the project as structured and what the proceeds are going to be used on qualify for the federal tax exempt status. And we have not done that yet, because that's a little farther along in the process. We need, for instance, we want to make sure that the CRC is interested in moving forward with the project before we send them our tax due diligence questionnaire. So that's at a later stage in the process.
Does that answer your question, Kathy?
Well, the but-for test is still, largely subjective and based on information that, we would never have at this point in time. I would like staff to take a stab at that to see if they can go a little deeper.
Again, the but-for test is for when you're giving an incentive or a benefit. When you're providing conduit financing, I don't believe it's the same I don't think it's the same comparison of what the intent was of the questions that were being posed. But for for this, is there some other way to finance that? But for this, is there another way to get the project done as opposed to giving, for instance, the Columbia project? That's where you would look at a but-for test. But for this assistance with the pilot, would you be able to lease this facility? And you're providing a private entity with a public incentive. I believe, though, in this case, we could do a but-for test as it relates to the mortgage recording tax. I mean, that's something that's germane to that issue as it relates to us, because that is a local benefit that this board would consider giving to the applicant. So clearly, we can look at that from the mortgage recording tax standpoint. But from the standpoint of the conduit financing, they have to prove to investors and bankers that this is something that can be financed and paid for. By the way, this is not our money. It doesn't prevent a project from happening on Delaware Avenue. If they can put together a project, and we'll hand them an application, and be more than happy for them to present their case to their investment bankers to make sure that they can do the project, just like every other single applicant that utilizes IDA or CRCs in the state has to do.
If you could focus that answer then on the mortgage recording test.
Yeah,
That's
I think so. So that's one.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other comments?
It's
Okay,
not our,
Michael.
it's not our money, folks. It's somebody else's money. We're acting as conduit finance on this. I'm speaking to the general public here. I probably should have, but I just want to make it clear.
Maybe what
So
helps
it hasn't
is
been.
there's X number of businesses in Albany that would like to have financing for any type of project. What qualifies as an applicant coming to us for conduit financing versus one that can't? I mean, couldn't theoretically everyone get in line and come before us for conduit financing, and there's no but-for test, so we could just be a mill of conduit financing?
Well, there's huge restrictions as to who can come and get conduits. Specifically, tax exempt financing, you have to be a recipient of tax exempt finance. You can't be a residential project. Now, there's also, well, you can't be plain and simply, you can't be a residential project to receive tax exempt financing. You can receive IDA benefits only after you prove the case, i.e. pilot or exemptions from mortgage recording tax, if you were to show that it's in an economically distressed area or part of an overall comprehensive plan, which is something that we do here regularly, because residential development is extremely important to the city. We've done that through
We
community
had those
planning.
projects before.
Yes, but you can't, you can't, a commercial, a Walmart store can't come and get tax exempt financing. Commercial retail activities do not qualify for tax exempt financing. Not-for-profit institutions, manufacturing operations, and then there's a series of other industrial type uses that qualify. So I'm probably oversimplifying that answer.
Speaking practically, any company that's in a position to borrow money on a tax-exempt basis comes to the IDA to get tax-exempt financing. And we've done projects for colleges,
Right.
Other not-for-profits. So if what typically happens is they look at the financing, and they're not gonna come to us if they're borrowing $50,000, but they will probably come to us if they're looking to borrow $1 million or $5 million. So there's kind of a threshold of the added cost and the process involved in a CRC or an IDA financing. They look at that and they say, well, as long as we get over that hurdle, we're gonna go to the IDA. And what we found is that any commercial project of any substance, $1 million, they come to an IDA for straight lease benefits. And any not-for-profit or manufacturing project that, as Michael indicates, which qualifies for tax-exempt financing under the Federal Internal Revenue Code, they come to an IDA or a CRC if they're at about $1 million because the benefits outweigh the cost, the IDA fee and the other associated closing costs. So we do any, most IDAs do any project that meets that, or any project that meets those standards will come to them. It's not a funnel just for instance, charter schools.
No, I understand that. I just mean if the policy is just open door, you got a project of $1 million come before us, what real benefit do we have other than just stamping approvals that come before us if we have an open
Well,
door?
I think, one, we consider the application. And I just have to make one point, that I think everybody's not seeing the forest through the trees here. These schools, and we stated this at the last meeting, we don't issue the charters, SUNY issues the charters. These schools are built or are being built regardless of this financing. I think that's a fair statement to say. I'll look at the charter school to say that.
It was built without the finance.
Right, so they're either there or they're not there. This is the only public board that would have any control over these charter schools on a going forward basis, which was evident today when we passed a resolution authorizing them to shift land. This is the only way, this is the only public body that will present any type of information related to these charter schools on a going forward basis at this point in time. So I want everybody to realize that there's a huge value, if there's such a concern about the future activities of the charter school, for them to use a public entity such as this as opposed to private financing. So it seems like there's this don't do this because you can't support this. They're going to happen anyways. The impacts are going to be met without any local benefit, without any local control if we don't do this. And that's pretty much what it boils down to from us. Not just the fee. And to answer Michael Bryan's questions, it is our job to do community and economic development. And each year when we publicly present our budget, and publicly present it to the board, publicly present it to the Common Council, just like he got our information, which says we have $4,500, not tens of millions of dollars to play with. He has the same information that the board has. We present that budget, and that's all we do is community and economic development with the monies we raise. And I mean, it would be great if the school district was able to share some of their 60% of the tax levy that they collect with us and do community and economic development, but they don't. We have to
So
what's
what's
generate that
the
money
benefit?
locally.
I'm sorry, you wanna have a discussion about this now? Because what is the benefit? What is the economic and community benefit that you just speak of in
I don't want to
financing this
No,
project?
that's,
Right now.
not right now.
You don't say it and then.
To get back, I don't mean to belabor the point, I'm just saying if the benefit is automatically the fee that we generate, then what's the use of, and I'm speaking rhetorically here, what's the use of public feedback, what's the use of going through this process if the fee is automatically our benefit?
I'll be honest with you, Martin, the public input I've received from everybody to date, in my personal opinion, and I'll state it at that, is that this should be questions directed towards SUNY and the issuance of charters.
Well,
No,
Mike,
no, I
I think
mean
as
on
a
any
board,
project.
we're being asked to consider whether or not we should utilize our authority to provide the privilege of tax exempt financing to an entity because we have determined that there is a public benefit to the city of Albany, the taxpayers of Albany, and the residents of Albany. And I believe we have to consider that with every action that we take. And that benefit, the expectation of the public, is that benefit be broader than the generation of a fee. And so we need to look at things like capacity. I agree, we cannot debate charter schools. That's not the purpose of this board, and I won't go there. But I think that we have to look at, as with any project, as what we're gonna discuss when we look at the pilots with respect to the office projects that are in front of the IDA. What is the economic benefit? Is there an overcapacity? Is there an undercapacity? Is there a need? Is there job creation? And what I think Martin is trying to get clarification on is, with respect to this type of project, are you saying that that's really not a consideration? Because all we're doing is providing a tax exempt pass-through for these entities, and we have to provide it to any of them who meet the tax qualifications.
I actually presented what I thought was two public benefits to the project. One is the control of a public board appointed by the Common Council, because ultimately we in essence are in control of the land and the financing issues on a going forward basis, and also the generation of the fee absolutely is a public benefit.
What control do we have? I don't understand, help me, I mean, what do you mean by control?
You have to give authorizations, you have to have, at least the information is shared publicly as to what's taking place as their ongoing financing takes place, or the ultimate disposition of the school. Just like today, we had to have here a resolution in order to authorize them to swap parcels to facilitate their financing. Just like we had to authorize the community, the Albany College of Pharmacy to be able to divest land to sell it to the charter school, which we made sure we put them through a variety of community reviews. If we don't fund this, that's not going to happen. They'll be able to do what they want, when they want it, without any public control, or public presentation at least.
Well, I mean, a presentation is not control. I mean, I mean, I think in
Well, you had a
in
vote
the issue,
today.
yes, but in the issue with the swapping of the land, I think it would be arbitrary and capricious to say that we're not gonna let them swap a bigger piece of property for a smaller piece of property.
I would
mean,
agree with you on that.
You know, we're not, that's not, to me, the same as control. So, I mean, I think we as a board need to, you know, we need to take into consideration the public comment and consider whether or not this is an economic benefit to the community.
Well, I agree.
But
I
if
think-
you're saying that
let's,
we don't consider that we have to do it anyway,
I think we are, and I think we're presenting the case, but I think we have to understand that a lot of the comments and direction are related to a project. The types of questioning here are related to a project that is more mobile than what we're considering here. So, listen,
All right, let's
You know,
get,
it's up to the
let's
board
get
what
all
they're
the,
gonna do.
yeah, let's get all the material together and we can have it on the agenda for next month.
I think
Okay.
we still want to discuss the memo.
Yeah, we can keep moving through the memo.
I think they still want to discuss.
You
the
still
memo.
want to
Yeah, can we
continue, I'm
finish there,
sorry.
Tony?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were interrupted, Susan.
No, not at all. No, that was part of the discussion of the memo. If we're on the second question, I would ask the staff to put some hard numbers together. I believe we've gotten some in the public comment session, as well as those job creation numbers affect the student numbers and the shifting student population. Those kind of are complementary, Mike. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on number two?
I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to make hard statements as to
No,
what
we're not.
reaction the school district takes to
No.
students
No.
being taken out. I
No,
can't make.
but if we could get all the numbers together in this one document, that would be really helpful.
You're talking about just shifting of students or shifting of jobs?
Well, to the shifting of the students as it pertains to the jobs, because I think the question was asked and some of the public comment has asked for a response to, are there actual new teaching or other jobs being created? And if there are new students in the district that necessitate that, then that would make sense, that there is, you know, new job creation. But if it's actually just a student shift as well, if it's leading to a job shift for teachers to teach that follow the students, then that, you know, would lead us to a different conclusion. But if we could get that all into this.
I would assume now that we're entering like double digits in the number of charters into the city here, that the school district would have done some analysis when they do their talking points to SUNY here about shifting jobs and as it relates to shifting student populations. I would rely on who we pay taxes for to the city, and perhaps, or city school district could perhaps provide us that information.
Yeah,
I'd have to rely on them to provide that information, because I don't know how to address what is a job loss at the city as it relates to a charter school, a job loss as it is the city related to a loss of state aid, or if it's related to other mitigating factors. I don't know how I could possibly address that.
And that's fine, Mike. I'm just asking if we can get some of that data into this one memo, then perhaps either side would want to comment on those numbers. So I don't even know that we would be ready to vote on this at the next meeting, but maybe that would be an opportunity. So, you know, we've got one set of numbers, and then, you know, we could hear what both parties would have to comment on that, so we can see where we really are with this.
Okay.
That would